Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something that honestly drives so many businesses and agencies absolutely crazy: local SEO.
Oh, yeah. It's a
What?
common frustration point.
Right. If you, listening right now, have been, pouring time and energy into your Google business profile, chasing reviews, doing all the things you're supposed to do.
Doing all the right things,
Mhm.
quote unquote.
Exactly. But you're still seeing your visibility just stall,
Yeah.
especially when you want to rank in that town next door or maybe a specific neighborhood that's not right on your doorstep.
Uh-huh. You're definitely not alone in that feeling.
It feels like hitting a wall.
It really does.
Yeah.
And what the research we've looked at suggests is that this plateau, it isn't usually about bad tactics. It's more fundamental. It's often a flaw in the underlying structure.
Structural flaw. Okay.
Yeah, people ask, why can't I crack the top three in this, affluent area just down the road? And often the answer is they're missing that architectural piece, the part that tells Google, yes, I'm relevant right here specifically.
Okay, so having a great looking Google business profile, that's just not the whole picture then.
It's crucial, but it's only part of it.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to unpack first why this thing called the location pages strategy is often labeled the backbone of local SEO. What does that even mean?
Good question.
Second, we need to talk about this diagnostic tool, GeoGrid scans. How do they fit in?
They're key, absolutely key.
And finally, the big one.
Yeah.
How do we actually connect those two? How do we use the scans and the strategy to fix that visibility problem, those coverage gaps?
Right. Let's bridge that gap.
Okay, let's start with the backbone idea. Why is the location pages strategy given such a fundamental title?
Well, think about what a backbone does, right? It supports everything.
Okay.
It's the core structure.
Holds everything upright.
Precisely. So in SEO terms, these location pages, they form the fundamental structure that supports all your other local efforts. Your GBP, your citations, your content, if the website structure isn't there specifically signaling geographic relevance, everything else is kind of, floating. Or worse, collapsing.
Okay. But I still wonder, and I bet listeners do too, if I'm, say, a plumber and I list 5 towns I serve right there in my Google business profile settings, why isn't Google just taking my word for it? Why does my website structure suddenly carry so much weight?
That's a really common question, and it cuts to how Google verifies relevance. Think of it like this. Your GBP is your storefront sign. It says who you are, what you do, where you are.
Okay, that makes sense.
Their citations, things like Yelp or local directories, they're like word-of-mouth mentions around town. They build some buzz.
Right.
But your location pages on your website, that's the actual blueprint of your service area. It's the detailed map showing Google exactly where you operate and demonstrating your connection to those specific places.
Ah, so the GBP is the claim, but the website pages are the evidence.
That's a great way to put it. If you just list 5 counties on one generic contact us or service area page, you're basically giving Google a very weak, very broad signal for a huge area.
Like whispering across a field, you said earlier?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're claiming relevance, but you're not proving it with specific localized content for each area.
So if my competitor has a page dedicated just to West Bakersfield plumbing services.
And on that page, they have testimonials from West Bakersfield, maybe mention local landmarks, talk about common plumbing issues in that specific area's housing stock. They're shouting relevance for West Bakersfield.
While my generic page is just kind of vaguely mentioning Bakersfield somewhere.
Precisely. Their signal is strong and specific. Yours is weak and general. That's why your GBP might rank okay right next door, but falls off a cliff just a mile or two away. The website structure isn't supporting that reach.
Okay, that distinction, claiming versus providing localized proof that's clicking, but how do I even know where my weak spots are? When I search for my office, everything looks great.
Ah, the classic proximity bias. That's exactly where the GeoGrid scan becomes indispensable. You can't fix a problem you can't accurately see.
Right. So tell us about these scans. What are they actually doing?
Okay, so think of it like this. You give the GeoGrid tool your main keyword, like emergency plumber near me, or HVAC repair.
Yep.
And then you define your service area on a map. The GeoGrid then runs that exact search, but it pretends to be searching from hundreds of different points, we call them pins, all across that map. Maybe every half mile, maybe every quarter mile, in a grid pattern.
Whoa, so instead of my one biased search?
It's simulating hundreds, maybe thousands of potential customers searching from literally everywhere within your target market. Every neighborhood, every street corner, potentially.
Okay, I can see how that would be revealing. Probably terrifying too.
It often is. You might see a nice little green circle, maybe rank 1 or 2, right around your physical address. But then, boom, just a mile out, the map turns into this sea of red and yellow. 4s, 8s, 12s, maybe not even on the first page.
The dreaded red zones. That's the coverage gap we're talking about.
That is the coverage gap, laying it bare. And the sources we looked at really hammer this home. The GeoGrid scan is like an X-ray. It shows the specific points of failure in your visibility.
So you go from a vague, I'm not ranking well over there, to, okay, at coordinates X and Y, I'm ranking 15th.
Exactly. You now have an actionable map of where you're losing potential customers. It directly addresses that question, why am I stuck outside the top 3? Because the map shows you where you're stuck. Often it's much closer to home than you think.
That makes the connection to the location pages strategy crystal clear then. If the GeoGrid is the X-ray showing all those weak spots, those red pins.
Then the location pages strategy is the specific treatment plan for each of those red pins.
Got it. So it's about alignment.
Perfect word. The strategy is about aligning your website's structure, the pages you build directly, with the weaknesses pinpointed by the GeoGrid. It's the bridge from diagnosis to cure. You see the gap, you build the page to fill that gap.
Okay, but hang on. Let's be real. If my GeoGrid shows, say, 50 red pins across 10 different suburbs, are you really saying I need to build, like, dozens of unique location pages? That sounds intense.
It can sound intense, I get that.
Can I just, add a list of towns to my existing service page footer, mention them more? Isn't building 50 pages overkill?
It feels like overkill until you see what Google rewards and what your competitors might already be doing. Google wants unique, specific relevance.
Right, relevance again.
Tweaking a footer, adding a list of towns, that's still a pretty weak, diluted signal spread across many areas. But if you create a unique, high-quality page, specifically for, let's say, emergency roofing in Maplewood Historic District,
Okay.
you can fill that page with content only about Maplewood. Talk about the common roof types there, showcase projects you did in Maplewood, include reviews from Maplewood customers, maybe mention working around specific local regulations or landmarks.
So it's hyper-local evidence.
Exactly. You're addressing that underperforming pin from the GeoGrid with surgical precision. Google sees that page and says, okay, this business is clearly relevant for roofing searches originating in this specific part of Maplewood.
And my competitor who just lists Maplewood on a generic page doesn't have that same level of proof for that specific micro-market.
Precisely. They're still relying on generalized coverage. By not mapping every underperforming pin to its own dedicated, localized page, you're leaving gaps. You're essentially telling Google your coverage is weak in those red zones.
That completely reframes it. It's not just about churning out pages. It's about the quality and specificity of the evidence on each page, targeted directly at the weaknesses the GeoGrid revealed.
Yes, and ensuring you don't have those gaps where competitors can just walk in. It tackles that core fear. Weak coverage equals lost market share.
So the strategic alignment, it's moving away from just hoping for the best with general SEO.
And moving towards a really targeted, data-driven site architecture. If you skip this step, mapping every red pin to a dedicated page, you are basically guaranteeing that Google sees weak spots. And someone else who is doing this will take that business.
Okay, let's talk payoff then. What's the ultimate goal here? When we align the site structure, using the GeoGrid data, addressing every pin, what does success actually look like?
The strategic objective, plain and simple, is making sure that every single part of your service area is covered.
Every part of the city.
Every part of the city, every neighborhood, every zone where you want to do business. We're aiming for comprehensive wall-to-wall visibility. No more islands of green in a sea of red. We want the whole map green, or at least yellow.
And the business impact of that.
Huge. You stop being dependent on just the searches happening right near your office. You've built the evidence Google needs to rank you highly for your key services, no matter where in your service area the search comes from. You eliminate those weak spots. You achieve real market penetration.
So it circles right back to that initial frustration. The difference between just, okay, local SEO, the kind that works nearby,
and maximum local coverage, the kind that truly drives growth across your entire market.
it hinges entirely on this detailed, GeoGrid-informed location page alignment, making sure no potential customer zone gets ignored just because the website wasn't built right.
Exactly. You're treating your website less like a brochure and more like a dynamic, responsive map of where you operate, with strong, dedicated landing zones for every key territory.
This has been incredibly clarifying. So let's try to summarize the key takeaway for everyone listening. Real local SEO success, the kind that breaks through that plateau. It's not just about the Google business profile.
Critically important, but not the whole story.
You need to build that location pages strategy the backbone. And crucially, it has to be informed specifically by GeoGrid scans to pinpoint exactly where your current structure is failing you.
See the red? Build the page.
Right. Stop relying on weak, generalized coverage. The absolute key is finding those underperforming pins on your scan and mapping each one to a unique, dedicated, localized page on your site. That's how you get that comprehensive, citywide coverage.
And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to take away and apply. If the goal is truly covering every part of your city, take a hard look or even just mentally map it out right now. What specific neighborhoods, what corners of your service area might you currently be neglecting in your online presence? Because those are likely the exact spots your competitors are finding easy wins. They're the red zones a GeoGrid scan would instantly highlight as major gaps in your coverage. Understanding that structural failure, that's the first real step towards building genuine local dominance.
Excellent point. Know your weaknesses to build your strengths. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into why location pages are so crucial and how GeoGrid data helps build them effectively. We'll catch you next time.